When we think about bullying, our minds usually jump to a single moment, right? Like an incident on the playground or some nasty comment online. But what if the real solution isn't just about reacting to those moments? What if we could actually build a community where bullying barely has a chance to start? Well, today we're going beyond just reacting. We're going to dive into prevention and look at a real roadmap for building a stronger, safer community for all of us. So let's start with a really important question. We've all seen kids argue, we've all seen disagreements, but where exactly is the line between a normal conflict and something way more harmful? Getting this difference right is the absolute first step. So, here's how we're going to break it all down today. We're going to move through 5 expanding circles. First, we'll nail down what bullying really is. Then, we'll look at the school environment. From there, we'll talk about the crucial network of family and friends. Then we'll jump into the digital world of cyberbullying. And finally, we'll see how it all has to come together to create a community that's truly strong. All right, so let's dive into that first circle, just getting the definition right. Because let's be honest, if we don't know exactly what we're up against, we can't really build a solid defense, can we? Okay, so this definition has 3 super important parts. First, it's repeated. This is not a one-time thing, it's a pattern of behavior. Second, it's targeted harm. It's done on purpose, designed to hurt, humiliate, or leave someone out. And third, and this is the real kicker, there's always a power imbalance. And this is where you can really see the difference, right? A conflict, that's a disagreement where both people have some power. You can usually work it out. But bullying, that's all about the power imbalance. One person or a group has more power, socially, physically, whatever, over another. It's systematic, and it is absolutely not just a normal part of growing up. I'm sure we've all heard this before, and it usually comes from a good place, The idea that we want kids to be tough and resilient. But here's why that logic doesn't work for bullying. Because of that power imbalance we just talked about, the person being targeted can't solve it alone. It's not a fair fight. It's an abusive situation. And that's why intervention from other people, from adults, from peers, is absolutely necessary. Okay, let's widen that circle a bit and move on to our second area. For most kids, school is the center of their world. So making sure it's a safe space isn't just a nice idea, it's absolutely fundamental. Real prevention is so much more than just sticking a few "Be a Buddy, Not a Bully" posters in the hallway. The research all points to something called a whole school approach. And that just means that preventing bullying has to be woven into everything the school does, from the principal's office to the classroom and even out on the playground. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it's built on 4 main pillars. 1, you need super clear rules. 2, the adults have to be visible and paying attention, especially in those less structured places like hallways or the lunchroom. 3, there has to be a safe, clear, and reliable way for kids to report what's happening. And finally, the most important one, the school has to respond consistently, every single time. That's how you build trust. And when we say clear rules, this is exactly what we mean. Vague stuff like "be nice" just doesn't cut it. The rules have to be concrete, specific, actionable. It's the difference between telling someone "be inclusive" and having a rule that says you can't intentionally exclude people in group projects. See? It makes unacceptable behavior crystal clear. Okay, let's expand the circle even further out from the school. Because a kid's life isn't just about what happens from bell to bell. Their network, their family, friends, sports teams, after-school clubs, that is often the very first and most powerful line of defense. Think about it this way. A relationship built on trust is the best early warning system you can possibly have. When kids feel safe enough to actually talk about what's going on, the good stuff and the bad, without being afraid that you'll freak out or brush it off, well, that's when we can catch these problems before they become a full-blown crisis. So, as the adults in their lives, what should we be looking out for? A lot of the time, the signs are in their behavior, not their words. Things like suddenly not wanting to go to soccer practice anymore, or getting really anxious about their phone, or just seeming sadder than usual. Now, none of these on their own is proof of anything, but they are all an invitation to start a gentle, supportive conversation. All right, now we have to talk about the big one, the 4th circle that has totally changed the game, the digital world. This isn't just another place where bullying happens. It plays by a completely different set of rules, and honestly, it brings a whole new level of danger. This is probably one of the biggest challenges we face today. It used to be that when the school bell rang, you could go home and be safe. But now, with smartphones, the harassment is 24/7. it follows kids right into their bedrooms, into what should be their safest spaces. For them, there's often no escape at all. So, what makes cyberbullying so different, so much more potent? Well, there are basically 4 key amplifiers. You've got the reach. A mean post can go viral in minutes. There's persistence. That embarrassing photo can live online forever. Then there's disinhibition. It's just easier to be cruel when you're hiding behind a screen. And finally, there's the platform logic itself, where algorithms can actually reward shocking and negative content with more attention. It's a really toxic mix. And that brings us to our final and honestly most important circle. We've defined the problem. We've looked at the different places it happens: school, home, online. So now, how do we tie it all together? The answer is the whole community has to step up. See, the thing is, one really great teacher or one super involved parent, it's just not enough to solve this problem alone. Real, long-term prevention has to be systemic. It's about building this protective network where every single part of the community knows their role and works together. And this really shows you what that network looks like in action. You've got schools creating that safe day-to-day structure. You have parents building that foundation of trust and communication at home. Clubs and sports teams extend those same principles into their spaces. The wider community offers support and resources. And yes, the tech platforms themselves have a huge responsibility to design safer products. When all of these pillars are strong, the whole community is safer for every single kid in it. So that really leaves us with one last question to think about. When you look at all those pillars, the schools, the homes, the online spaces in your own life, how strong are they? This isn't about pointing fingers. It's about seeing where the gaps might be and asking yourself, what can I do to help strengthen this network? Because a strong community isn't something we just find, it's something we have to build together.